What happens when Hollywood's most beloved leading man steps into the lion's den of daytime television and refuses to fold? When Brad Pitt appeared on The View last week, no one could have predicted the conversation would erupt into one of the most intense on-air showdowns the program has ever seen. Whoopi Goldberg, famous for her unfiltered style, met her match in a guest who wasn't willing to be steamrolled. From the moment Pitt joined the panel, the tension was unmistakable. And by the time it ended, security had to intervene to escort the Oscar winner off set. Before we unpack what actually happened, hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments, because this one's going to leave you stunned. Episode started like any other. The audience buzzed with anticipation, cameras rolled, and the hosts settled in. Brad Pitt was slated to discuss his latest film, a passion project he'd poured years into. What should have been a straightforward interview quickly veered into unexpected territory. As Pitt walked onto the stage, Whoopi, seated in her usual spot, barely acknowledged him. Her co-hosts Joy Behar, Sarah Ann, and Alyssa Farah Griffin greeted him warmly, but Whoopi remained distant, almost aloof. The atmosphere shifted immediately. "Brad," Whoopi began, her voice edged with tension. "You're here to promote a movie, but I think there's something more pressing we need to talk about." She leaned in, locking eyes with him. The studio grew silent. "There's been a lot of chatter about your personal life. Don't you think the public deserves clarity?" Pitt shifted in his seat, caught off guard. "Well, Whoopi, I thought we were here to talk about my film, something I've been developing for 3 years. I'm not sure what personal matters you're referring to." "You're not sure?" Whoopi replied with a bitter chuckle. "Brad, you can't just show up and act like nothing's happened. You think being a movie star means you get to dodge accountability?" The other hosts looked uncomfortable as the interview veered off script. Joy Behar gently tried to steer the conversation back. "Maybe we could start with the film. And then," but Whoopi cut her off sharply. "No, Joy, I'm tired of celebrities using this platform as a PR pit stop." Turning to Brad, she added, "If you're going to sit at this table, be honest with us." Brad took a breath, trying to stay composed. "With all due respect, I came here in good faith to talk about a film that means a lot to me. But if this is going to turn into something else, then let's be clear about it." "Oh, it's clear," Whoopi said, rising from her seat, a rare move during an interview. "This is about accountability. You think you can smile your way out of any situation." The studio audience sat frozen, stunned by the live confrontation. Even the camera crew seemed unsure where to focus. "I'm not trying to charm anyone." Brad responded firmly. "I'm asking why I'm being accused without explanation. If there's something specific, say it. Don't throw around vague claims." "Vague?" Whoopi snapped. "Let's talk about how you manipulate public perception. How you play the victim when you're anything but." Brad stood now too, clearly frustrated. "I don't know what's going on with you, but this feels completely inappropriate. You're making baseless accusations on national television." "Inappropriate?" Whoopi's voice grew louder. "You want to talk about inappropriate? What's inappropriate is walking in here thinking your fame gives you a free pass." Sarah Ann attempted again to cool things down. "Maybe we can just step back and—" But neither party was listening. "This is ridiculous," Brad said, shaking his head. "I've shown nothing but respect since I arrived. From the start. You've been confrontational. What's this really about?" "What it's about," Whoopi shot back, "is that I'm tired of Hollywood stars thinking they're above criticism. You walk in here expecting praise because of your name." "I didn't expect praise," Brad replied, his voice rising. "Just a basic level of decency. Something that seems to be missing at this table today." The atmosphere had become so charged that audience members looked around nervously, while producers whispered frantically into headsets, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the chaos unfold. "You know what, Whoopi?" Brad said, his tone sharper than anyone had heard before. I came here to talk about creativity, storytelling something meaningful, but you've turned it into a personal attack. Whoopi crossed her arms, digging in. This isn't personal. It's about finally getting some honesty from someone who spent decades living in a bubble. Bubble? Brad raised his eyebrows. You're the one sitting at the top of a major talk show, throwing accusations with no facts to back them up. Who's really in the bubble here? The audience gasped. Sarah looked ready to sink into her chair. Alyssa scribbled furiously on her notepad, possibly plotting a way to redirect the segment. Joy had given up entirely, silently watching the fireworks. Don't try to flip this on me, Whoopi said, pointing at Brad. I've earned my place here through years of work, through speaking truth. You've coasted on charm and connections. Coasted? Brad finally snapped. I've been working in this industry for over 30 years. I've backed projects that matter, collaborated with bold directors, supported important causes, and you call that coasting? That's exactly what I'm saying, Whoopi responded coolly. And the fact that you're so defensive proves my point. You can't stand being challenged. Cameras zoomed in on the escalating exchange, capturing every reaction. The air was thick with tension, the studio lights practically buzzing from the heat of the moment. My image? Brad stood again, this time more assertively. This isn't about image. This is about being treated with basic respect, something I don't see happening here. Respect? Whoopi replied, her voice at a near shout. You want respect? Start by respecting this platform. Respect this audience. They're not foolish enough to fall for whatever performance you brought here. Performance? Brad spread his arms in disbelief. I walked in here to discuss my work. You've attacked me since I sat down. If anyone's putting on an act, it's you. Joy tried again. Maybe we should, but Whoopi overruled her with a wave. No, Joy. Brad wants to talk about acts. Let's talk about the one he's been performing for years. The down-to-earth movie star, the family man, the selfless humanitarian. It's all carefully crafted PR. The room fell completely silent. Even the audience held its breath. Brad stared at Whoopi for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and firm. Carefully crafted nonsense, he repeated. You're questioning my integrity. My role as a parent, my charity work on national TV. That's exactly what I'm doing, Whoopi responded without hesitation. And it's long overdue. Brad's voice trembled slightly, not from fear, but from controlled anger. You keep leveling vague accusations, attacks on my character with no clarity. What are you actually accusing me of? I'm accusing you, Whoopi replied, of being a fraud. A fake. The philanthropy, the humility, it's all a performance. You're a product, Brad, not a person. The words landed like a thunderclap. Sarah gasped. Alyssa stared wide-eyed. The audience remained frozen in disbelief. What about taking responsibility, just once? Brad asked, his patience clearly wearing thin. You keep going in circles, he added. You're making accusations without offering any specific examples. If you've got something concrete to say, then say it. Otherwise, this conversation is done. The conversation ends when I say it ends, Whoopi shot back, her voice suddenly cold. This is my show, my table, and you will sit and answer my questions. The studio went silent. Even the cameras seemed frozen. Brad looked at Whoopi, then turned to glance at the other co-hosts and the visibly stunned audience. When he finally spoke, his tone was calm but decisive. No, Whoopi, I won't sit down. I won't be intimidated, and I won't participate in whatever this is supposed to be. His refusal echoed like a challenge. The room was so quiet, it felt like it might erupt any second. Whoopi's expression darkened. She realized her usual approach wasn't working this time. Excuse me? She said, her voice dropping to a sharp whisper. You think you get to decide when this conversation ends? You think you can just walk away from accountability? Brad gestured around the table. I think I can walk away from this, because this isn't accountability, Whoopi. This is a witch hunt. And I won't stand here and let you tear down my name without cause. Whoopi stepped in closer, her eyes blazing. Your reputation? Your reputation is built on deception, Brad. I'm not going to let you use my platform to keep pushing those lies. My reputation? Brad replied, his voice edged with irony. The View is supposed to be about sharing perspectives and real dialogue. What you're doing here isn't a conversation, it's a personal attack. The other co-hosts were visibly uncomfortable. Joy Behar fidgeted with her papers. Sarah Ann looked close to tears. Alyssa Farah Griffin kept her eyes locked on the table, clearly wishing she could vanish. Harassment? Whoopi's voice rose. I'm asking you to be honest for once in your privileged life. But apparently, that's too much for someone who spent decades hiding behind a polished image. There's nothing to hide, Brad said firmly. I've spoken openly about my mistakes and personal struggles. I've tried to do better, but that's never going to be enough for you, is it? Don't you dare play the victim, Whoopi snapped. You don't come on my show and act like you're the one being wronged. I'm not playing anything, Brad replied, voice steady. I'm stating facts. You invited me here under false pretenses. You've attacked my character without offering a single piece of evidence. And you've refused to say what this is really about. If anyone's playing games, it's not me. In the control room, the crew looked panicked. Through the glass, executives were frantically signaling. Crew members began quietly positioning themselves near the stage, ready in case things escalated. False pretenses? Whoopi laughed harshly. The only thing false here is you, Brad. Everything about you is planned, artificial, fake. That's it, Brad said, his patience gone. I'm done. I'm done with these baseless attacks. I'm done with your refusal to actually talk. And I'm done with whatever personal grudge you're playing out here. He turned to the audience, speaking directly to them. I apologize to everyone here who expected a normal interview. I'm sorry to the viewers at home who thought they'd see a thoughtful discussion. And I'm sorry to the other hosts who've had to sit through this awkward situation. Don't you apologize for me. Whoopi fired back, her voice shaking. I don't need your apology, and neither does anyone else here. Clearly, Brad said, turning to face her again. What you need is a serious moment of self-reflection about how you treat people and how you run this show. How I conduct myself? Whoopi's voice spiked, making some in the crowd visibly wince. I carry myself with integrity, something you clearly know nothing about. Integrity? Brad shook his head. Whoopi, you've spent 20 minutes making personal attacks with zero evidence. You've questioned my morals, my relationships, my career, and my intentions, all based on what? A personal bias? If that's your definition of integrity, we clearly don't share the same one. The tension was unbearable. Security was now visibly shifting toward the stage. The other hosts looked increasingly desperate for anyone to step in. My dislike of you is grounded in facts, Whoopi shot back. Facts you're too afraid to face. What facts? Brad demanded. His voice rose for the first time. You keep saying you have facts, but you haven't shared even one. You've made accusations and taken personal shots, but you haven't backed up a single thing. The evidence, Whoopi said, is your behavior right now. The defensiveness. The way you're flipping this on me. The refusal to be accountable. Accountable for what? Brad's voice cracked in frustration. You still haven't told me what I'm supposed to be responsible for. This is nonsense, Whoopi. Completely ridiculous. What's ridiculous, Whoopi said, her voice trembling, is that you think you can show up here and get away with being fake. What's ridiculous is thinking your celebrity status excuses you from being honest. The truth? Brad looked around the studio, at the audience, the co-hosts, the crew now inching closer. The truth is you've lost it, Whoopi. Completely. I've lost it? Whoopi's rage hit a new peak. I've lost it? You're the one who can't handle a few hard questions. Hard questions? Brad said, visibly stunned. Whoopi, you haven't asked me one question. Not one. You've made statements. You've thrown accusations. But you haven't asked anything. You've spent this entire time venting your own grievances. Security was now stepping onto the stage. The head of security moved cautiously toward the table, clearly unsure of what to do. Ma'am, sir, he said quietly. We need to de-escalate this situation. There's nothing to de-escalate, Whoopi said sharply, still locked on Brad. We're having a discussion. This isn't a discussion, Brad replied, turning to the security chief. This is harassment, and I'm leaving. You're not leaving until I'm done with you, Whoopi said, her voice now carrying a tone that unsettled the entire room. Actually, Whoopi, Brad said, now calm and firm. I am leaving. He turned toward the stage exit, but Whoopi stepped forward, trying to block his way. You don't just walk away from this, she warned. Yes, I do, Brad replied, unwavering. And I am. The security chief stepped forward again, this time more assertively. Ma'am, we have to let Mr. Pitt leave if that's what he wants. This is my show, Whoopi snapped. He doesn't get to decide how this goes. Respectfully, the chief responded, everyone has the right to walk away. More security personnel joined him on stage. The situation was quickly spiraling out of control. The co-hosts sat stunned, and the audience buzzed with nervous whispers. This is unbelievable, Whoopi said, her voice now shaking with a mix of anger and disbelief. What's unbelievable? Brad said as he walked toward the exit, security around him, is what the view has become. As Brad disappeared backstage, escorted by the security team, Whoopi stood alone at the table, her hands trembling, her face flushed with anger. The studio remained in an uneasy silence, broken only by quiet murmurs from the crowd. The cameras never stopped rolling, capturing every moment of the chaotic breakdown, one of Hollywood's biggest stars walking off the set of daytime TV's most-watched talk show, leaving behind a host who had lost control and a room full of people who had just seen something they wouldn't soon forget. That's how Brad Pitt ended up being escorted off The View after a heated confrontation with Whoopi Goldberg that left more questions about the host's behavior than the guests. What do you think was behind Whoopi's reaction that day? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more unbelievable stories.